We now return to Ace Attorney Chronicles, Episode 8 in the Bailey. This escapade takes place in the Old Bailey courtroom where the defendant is none other than Sholmes himself, and the charge is a most mysterious murder. Ryunosuke naturally advocates for the defense against the unflappable Reaper, Lord Van Zeeks, but Sholmes' testimony calls the true culprit of the crime into question. Unknown date, the Old Bailey courtroom.
This court is now in session for the trial of Mr. Herlock Sholmes. This is a most extraordinary case of murder. Counsels, I assume I may proceed.
Yes, my lord, the defense is ready. At your discretion, my lord.
Very well. I hereby call on the prosecution to introduce the case.
The incident in question took place 2 days ago, late at night when the ground was blanketed with snow. The location of the incident was the residence of the accused, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Indeed. Now famous address of number 221 B Baker Street, was it?
The address may have enjoyed fame once, my lord, but will henceforth enjoy infamy for this grim crime. Yes, sir. Well put. So... time is unknown when this happened, but clearly this was before the last trial as well, before he got in trouble. Well put. The victim, a certain Madame Rosie, was found asphyxiated on the accused sofa.
Objection!
But it's unclear as to whether the victim was actually killed in the defendant's suite or not. After all, when Mr. Sholmes left the room for only a brief moment, Madame Rosie somehow vanished herself out of his room completely.
Vanished herself, counsel? The victim?
Quite true, my lord. There is but one adjoining door between my drawing room and the kitchen. Yet having brewed some tea in the kitchen, I returned to find the room completely empty.
There was nobody else present.
Ordinarily, my fellow lodger, Iris, would have been at home. However, on the day in question, she had been invited to a meeting of a scientific society in the city.
I'm afraid you have a propensity for exaggeration, sir. You claim the victim vanished herself, but really it seems to me entirely plausible that she chose to leave via the main entrance to your suite.
As it happens, my lord, the door to the accused's room was locked at the time from the inside. Very true, Inspector. As such, I can say with considerable surety that the victim did not leave via my front door. But what about, yes, she could have snuck out through the window.
Objection!
The windows in the room were not locked, it's true, and the victim had the opportunity, however. However, there was snow all around the building outside, and not a patch of it had been disturbed. Would my learned friend care to explain how the victim could have left without leaving a trail?
So the victim, Madame Rosie, somehow vanished from the scene before she was killed.
She vanished from the room and then was found later in the room asphyxiated? I'm already confused here. Naturally, I was alarmed by the sudden disappearance of my guest. So I summoned this gentleman, who resides in the attic room above my own. We took a cab to Scotland Yard. I can confirm the defendant called for me, and I saw his suite on my way downstairs. And yes, I'm quite sure it was empty, just as Mr. Sholmes has said. When we reached the yard, this very detective happened to be there. Well, yes, you see, I was just in my office for a while, having got back from some important business. And then, having explained the situation to the inspector, we traveled back to Baker Street together. At that time, there were no footprints in the snow around the building other than the ones we'd made.
And do I take it then, counsel, that you personally witnessed the scene where the incident took place?
No, my lord. I went straight up to bed in my own room in the attic. Inspector Gregson, however, was met with a most blood-curdling sight. On Mr. Sholmes' sofa is a vanished Madame Rosie, motionless.
So the victim was already dead when you discovered her, Inspector?
No, my lord, not dead, but not far off it. She mustered all her remaining strength to say these dying words. That rotter Sholmes will be the death of me. I think this qualifies as hearsay, though. Ah, yes, I overheard that remark at the time, too, delivered in a raspy voice, full of malice. No. Those words indeed proved to be her last. The victim expired moments later, there on the sofa. The cause of death was identified as damage to the respiratory tract as a result of strangulation. Pray, does the accused dare to contest the inspector's account? Certainly not. In fact, the inspector has done an unusually fine job of summarizing the salient points.
Sholmes will be the death of me. Damning departing words indeed.
In her final moments, the victim named her killer. You, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Objection!
But the defendant had no reason to take the victim's life. Perhaps you could tell the court, Mr. Sholmes, who exactly this Madame Rosie was. Yes, because I'm curious too. Ah, yes, of course. Did I never mention her to you? I extended an invitation to her that evening, though she is loquacious in the extreme. The most trivial of matters quickly becomes a quarrel. I was only too pleased to leave her presence to make tea. Great. It would appear then that the accused did in fact have a motive for silencing his heuristic guest permanently.
Objection!
Putting that tenuous motive aside, what about the other mysteries surrounding the case?
I'm inclined to agree with the defense. There remain a number of inscrutable details. The victim's alleged disappearance and subsequent reappearance, leaving no trail of footprints, for example.
That's right. The crime described by the prosecution could never have happened. Yet the victim named the accused in her dying breath. It seems to me that my learned friend has overlooked a significant detail here. Nonsense. What have I overlooked? The man in the dock, the so-called great detective, all too frequently makes the following bold claim. There is no crime beyond the realms of possibility, no mystery beyond my powers of reasoning. So, Mr. Sholmes, you will have no difficulty in explaining how the crime thus described could have taken place. Therefore, I propose a toast to the great detective upholding his name. We get yet one final deduction round without any evidence whatsoever to look around a room. I don't see how we can possibly do this. But of course, were I to put my mind to the matter, the crime would immediately appear to all present to be entirely feasible. Please, Mr. Sholmes, whose side are you on? All you need to say is no. Even I can't think of a way that a crime like that could have been committed. Let the accused's admission be noted by the court. Although the crime may appear impossible to us mortals of inferior mental capacity, this man alone claims to know exactly how it was done.
Hold it!
Now, hold on. That's a very fragile argument.
Thank you, counsels. I believe I've heard more than enough to proceed to my adjudication. The accused great detective did, in some inscrutable manner, willfully murder the victim, Madame Rosie. I therefore find the defendant...
Are we going to find out Madame Rosie's like a fish or something?
guilty. Let this man be taken from this courtroom and, in some equally inscrutable manner, be sanctioned for his crimes. Court is adjourned.
Hold it!
My lord, please. The truth about the mysteries surrounding this case are known to another besides the great detective. What's this? On my word, Mr. Naruhodo, you are coming along wonderfully. You deduced a fundamental truth about this case, I believe. Which would be, detective, that the truth to this case is known. Only to the true culprit, obviously. Is that not so, Gregson? I suppose, yes. You don't mean... Are you suggesting, Mr. Sholmes, That you have an idea as to what actually happened that night? An idea, my dear fellow. I could explain the entire incident from start to finish, with not a single detail omitted.
Objection!
It seems the detective has failed to grasp the situation. Pray, Mr. Reaper, which of us has truly failed to grasp the situation, I wonder? Then answer me this. You claim that prior to the incident the victim suddenly vanished without a trace from your room. If so, how exactly did Madame Rosie disappear? Why, naturally, via the window. It was ajar, after all. But that can't be. The room's a whole story above street level, and anyway, no prints were found in the snow. There are any number of ways one could avoid leaving tracks in the snow, surely. Such as? Such as flying, for instance. A fatuous notion. And to where do you propose the victim flew, Mr. Sholmes? Is it not entirely plain? To the culprit's abode, of course. For having left my suite, that is clearly where Madame Rosie was murdered. Take a moment to consider the cruel irony, if you will. By her own volition, she flew directly to her death.
Objection!
Do you forget, Detective, the victim's corpse was discovered on your own sofa? No doubt because her killer carried her back there. But what about the lack of footprints in the snow again, then? There just weren't any. Other than our own from when we returned home ourselves. If by our footprints you refer to your own and mine, you are quite right. But there were those of another. On the night in question, there was one other person who could have conveyed the victim to my sofa. That's...
Good gracious, to whom do you refer, sir?
A man whose somewhat unavailing presence at the scene of the crime would be questioned by no one. Unavailing? You don't mean... Indeed I do. A man who hastened to the scene directly upon learning of the incident at Scotland Yard. Namely... you, Inspector Gregson. When you arrived at my address on Baker Street, you were carrying the half-dead Madame Rosie with you. You waited for a suitable opportunity and then laid the victim on my sofa.
Did what?
Objection!
But you were with the inspector when he arrived. How could he possibly have been carrying the victim? He would have been noticed. Or we would have noticed. And my dear fellow, a most obvious answer presents itself, does it not? The inspector is rarely, if ever, without his overcoat. The victim was simply conveyed in one of his many pockets. I fail to see what makes this detective great, but I can say one thing with great certainty. A human body cannot fit into the pocket of an overcoat. I believe you may all have fallen foul of a rather significant misapprehension. What? Madame Rosie was not a human.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Sholmes. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, something troubles you, perhaps? Whatever gives you that idea? Exactly what sort of creature was Madame Rosie? Is it not apparent already? A parakeet, of course. Ah! A most self-conceited specimen, in fact.
A parakeet?
She was an incessant talker, I must say. Her manner was quite intolerable at times. Wanted to turn every conversation to a quarrel. I thought to strangle the creature on more than one occasion. I don't know why I keep doing little inflections like that, but it's because it's not my actual accent. You had a quarrel with a parakeet. But of course, why else would she have chosen to fly from my window so uncordially that evening? To the abode of the inspector here, beside me no less. To Inspector Gregson's abode, but why? Because that was the parakeet's home, naturally.
What are you...
The inspector was called away from town for some days, so it was arranged that I would look after the bird. But it would appear that she was overcome with a sudden yearning for her keeper. Thus prompting her flight from my comfortable suite to the inspector's office at Scotland Yard. Well, Gregson, I believe it's high time you explained. Give us your account of what happened that night, sparing no details, of course. Inspector Gregson, it was an accident. I got back from being away that evening, you see. I just walked through the door of my office. I never imagined Madame Rosie would be on her way back to the yard as well. I slammed the door shut behind me, just as she was trying to fly through it. So Madame Rosie... she got sandwiched between the door and the frame and fell to the floor. Never to move again, because of me. Is this like one of those sad Victorian little matchstick girl type stories, like that they just adapted to this situation?
Well, I never.
I had to do something, and just when I was trying to think of a plan, you fellas arrived talking about some incident at Baker Street. I had to hide Madame Rosie in a hurry. Why? It's your bird, right? So I stuffed her in my coat pocket, and got in the cab with the pair of you. What could possibly have motivated you to behave in such a manner, Inspector? Lord Strongheart, sir. What? Lord Strongheart? Please tell me I didn't hear that right. It was the Lord Chief Justice who asked me to look after the bird in the first place. She'd been living with the pigeons at the Supreme Court until then. But apparently the other birds had started to pick on her. So the past 6 months or so, I've been caring for her in my office at the yard. Yes, sir. If anything happened to that bird, just imagine. No pay and no time off for the rest of my career. You mark my words, that's what's gonna happen. I think we all know that he has bigger fish to fry at the moment. That's why well...
But the victim's dying words, Inspector. The court heard earlier that Madame Rosie spoke the name of her assailant on her deathbed.
That Rosa Sholmes will be the death of me. Indeed she did, quite uncalled for, wouldn't you agree? But those words, your true feelings, are they not, Inspector? Clearly, you speak of me often at your office at the yard in this disparaging manner, a manner that the merry parakeet took much delight in mimicking. Oh, come on, I mean, have you read this month's edition of Rant's magazine, eh? I'm sorry. This is all absolutely true. Why are we here? Is something wrong with Lord Van Zeeks? No, nothing. I almost drifted off for a moment there. It's hard not to drift off when you've been kept waiting 3 hours already. I wonder if we'll manage to meet with Lord Strongheart at all today. We may have to deliver the report on the Winterbank case that he asked for on another day. Tell me, Inspector, what became of that bird? Madame Rosie, you mean? She had a narrow escape, but she's still alive. I delivered her back here not long ago, actually, on Lord Strongheart's orders. Orders. Please open the pigeons. We'll accept her now, because she smells like human. It was something of a shock to hear that she'd been crushed in the doorway of your office, especially as we were all under the misapprehension that Madame Rosie was a person. Sorry about that. It was Lord Strongheart's demand that, Ah, good, you're here. Wait, so, what? The bird got... For a minute there, I thought we were seeing like it was all just a dream situation, but then he mentions that the bird was actually crushed, so the bird didn't die of asphyxiation, and it's fine now? Like, what? I apologize for my tardiness. I'm exactly 3 hours, 24 minutes, and 57 seconds late. Oh no, my lord. Oh no, please, don't trouble yourself. Nothing gives us greater pleasure than standing here doing nothing for hours on end. Hardening. So, let's hear it then. Your report. So when the big trial's concluded, but this is far from over. It seems that dark Far Eastern lawyer and I have some shared destiny. We will meet again. Of that, I have no doubts. Did you see that, Lord Van Zeeks? Did you? Madam Rosie went flying off among the pigeons there. Happy as Larry she was. Really, Inspector? You must be relieved. What? What? I don't understand what the hell happened here. This was a bizarre one. My earlier assertion in the previous episode that all this stuff was just, footnotes or side notes scribbled on the actual script that were just thrown away, and then they were like, oh god, we need content. Like, this one, more than anything, made me think that that is 100% true. That this was like the last scribbled note, and they're like, a pigeon died. Okay, you know what? Let's go with it. Like, what the hell kind of transition is that into the next game? So we know that Van Zeeks here comes back in the next game. So goody. I'm sure all the major characters do. So it'll be interesting to see how that wraps up after the main story. But anyway, so yeah, technically we're only halfway through this Let's Play, since this is the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and not, the first game, which I probably should have done, not realizing how long this was actually going to be. But I think I'm going to take a break from the game before continuing on and doing the second one, because, oh my god. Yeah. I guess we can consider it, if since this ended up being written very much anime-esque, I guess we can consider this Season 1? And so before Season 2, we'll just do something else. But man, trying to do this. So I think the last Let's Play that I did, like this fully attempting a voice thing, was like the Shadowrun series, and that was just like 4 or 5 characters, and that was troublesome enough. But then when there's scenes where you've got like 3 witnesses and 6 jurors and all the regular cast on top of that, and I'm doing like 12 voices flopping between them, trying to remember who had what inflection, and every single female voice I do sounds exactly the same, so like, it's tiring. It was really tiring to do this. I was very excited to play it at first. It was fun, but man, it became a little bit of a hassle after a while. So we'll take a break. We'll come back to it at some point. And thanks for watching. I'll see you then.